Alright, so this was what I thought in CBT2. Okay? I think a lot of my opinions have changed. So, I think Mortify is still an S. This is assuming C6 4 stars, C0 5 stars, by the way. Mortify is still an S. I think we need to add a new tier at the bottom. Oryonu. Fucking worthless. This is the worst character in the game, and it's not even fucking close. He is so bad. What did he do? Well, it's not about what he does, it's about what he doesn't do, which is anything. He doesn't do anything. Why is that man so bad? They just forgot zeros in his numbers. Like, for context, right? You don't get any flat defense from shit, okay? Your base defense is a little bit higher than your base attack, but like, realistically, you're not gonna reach a lot more defense than you would attack. And his coordinated attack is 4%. 4%! Yeah, when you level it, it'll go up to like, ooh, 7 or maybe even 8. Like, he does nothing off field. And then on field, it's like 20%. It's like 10% hits over and over. Like, unironically, these make sense for numbers on an HP scaler, not a defense scaler. He is fucking worthless. Like, it actually just looks like they forgot zeros in his kit. It's really bad. Okay, for context, I think characters can be a lot better or a lot worse depending on the content, right? So I think we should do a few different tier lists. Maybe one for like single target, one for elites, and one for mobbing, right? So when I'm talking single target, it's like a hollow boss. When I'm talking elites, it's like when there's 2 or 3 bears or something like that. And when I'm talking about mobbing, it's like there's like a bunch of small guys, but like a lot of them. So I mean, he's gonna stay here for everything, right? Let's start with single target. In single target, I think Dungeon is still in S tier. She's her frame data is just way too good for parrying, and parrying is too important of a mechanic against hollow fights. I think Ling Yang is gonna be in C. He's just not good enough at anything. His parries suck. He's really vulnerable in the air. He's just not good. I think Qiqia is probably in C as well. Qiqia's biggest upside is that her ult is really good, and her biggest downside is that it costs a fucking arm and a leg. It's like 150 cost. It's fucking insane how much it costs. But it is actually a good ult. Right, like at talent level 1, it's already like fucking 800 motion value, right? Like that's good. It's just you're not getting the energy for it because it's 150. I think Mortify, the fact that Mortify doesn't have anything that can realistically parry makes him a little worse in holo content. And the outros that give buffs, I think, are worse than the outros that deal damage in holo content as well, because you kind of just wanna the holos are gonna move a lot, and you're gonna have to dodge a lot, and so your damage windows won't be as long, basically. That being said, he has such good energy gen, both resonance energy and concerto energy, that I think he still makes it an S. Verena, I think, is an A for holo content. like for single target, you get one shot, so the healing doesn't matter. So all she provides is the buffs, which are nice, but they're not nearly as. She's not nearly as good of a unit when the healing doesn't matter. Basically, she's still good, but not as good. Encore. I mean, I don't know. She's like a B tier character. She's fine. Same with Galcharo. Maybe she's A. Because Galcharo A is meaningfully better than Ling Yang, and Encore A is meaningfully better than Galcharo in the holo content. Encore is S. Her DPS is insane. She doesn't have good parries though, right? Also, her DPS isn't even that good. It's just for holos. Yeah, we're starting with holos. Why is Galcharo mid and single target? Basically because boss doesn't move too much. He's just not gonna get his attacks to actually hit the bosses entirely. Like, shit will whiff all the fucking time. Very easy to parry with Galcharo. Did they buff his parry frames? Because I know in CBT2 he was fucking awful to parry with. But either way, his attacks that parry aren't the attacks that deal damage. You have to parry and then try to deal damage, but the DPS windows are like non-existent. Alright, Genshin. I'm gonna put her in a high C. For holos, that's just not what she's good at. Jian probably goes in S for holos. Having a button that will just auto parry for you is kind of nuts. Genshin has an auto parry. Is that true? He has a counter. That's not the same thing. Does it auto parry every time? For heavy auto parries, it hits often enough. How many do you get? Because like on Jian, you will automatically parry every single parryable hit during your ult. It's like it's impossible not to parry an attack. I'm not gonna rank Yinlin. Alto, I still don't know what the fuck to think about him. I haven't seen anyone talk about him. Just I don't know. I'm not gonna rank him. Tauchi, honestly, kind of the same thing. I've heard a lot of bad things about her, but like, I don't know, man. I kind of can't be bothered. Like, at the end of the day, she's a lot better. I mean, yeah, let's just... Well, for holos, can she even be that bad because she has a parry? Baija, I think, is high C. Her like, attack that comes onto the field when you swap into her, not necessarily the intro, just like the automatic attack when you swap into her, is actually pretty good at parrying, in my experience in CBT2. And more importantly, she's just a nice third slot. Very often, it's rough to have a third slot that really fits your team and that's easy to play, and she fits that really well. Sanhua, I think, is an A. Yeah, she's an A. She's pretty good. What's good about Sanhua in the holograms? She's just a good unit. There's nothing particularly good or bad about her in holo, but she's just a pretty strong unit overall. Yang Yang, bottom C. This character is so ass. Maybe Baija should be in bottom B, actually. Yeah. Alright, and then Spectral Rover, I think I will also put in bottom B. They just have really good frames for parrying. And yeah, they're alright for this. And finally, Havoc MC. My goat. No, if we're truly being honest, it's probably here. High A. The ult from Rover has to hit, but it does work. Wait, really? Fine, I'll test it again. But if it also doesn't work, you're getting banned. If it works, I will apologize. If it doesn't work, you're getting banned. So you guys want to know one of my biggest pet peeves with this game so far? When I click on this waypoint, right? Like when I click on a normal waypoint, fast travel button is the whole bottom. But on a custom waypoint, I'm like, oh, okay, let me fast travel. I keep removing them when I try to fast travel to them. Why is their UI so bad, dude? How are they? Whatever. So, it's doing 66. How is this bad UI if you're used to a different UI? That's literally not what I said. A normal waypoint is the whole screen. A custom waypoint is the whole bottom of the screen. A custom waypoint isn't. Which means that your muscle memory from teleporting to normal waypoint will make it so that you will accidentally remove custom ones. There's nothing to do with a different UI. This is the same UI. It's called custom. Custom doesn't mean that it should be designed poorly. Why is the button to remove it not placed literally anywhere other than in the middle of where on a normal waypoint you fast travel? Why is it not placed literally anywhere else? Whatever. You're just baiting. It is what it is. You're lying! It's still doing 66! I got from 250 to 260. It's 50% more damage. Are you sure you didn't just activate something that gives you a slight stat boost? So this is for holos, right? And again, keep in mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, like keep that in mind. Now, let's do. Verena should be S for holos. Verena doesn't make a big difference in holo fights. Like, she's still very good, because honestly, there's only 2 options that are actually good on the last slot, right? And she is the better one of them. Like, I think if you're doing an optimal team for holos, she will be on every team. But it's not because she's that good. This is the only content where I would say she's not an S. So, let's now do elite fights, right? So this is like you're fighting, I don't know, like 2 Havoc Dread Mains or 2 Spearback Bears or whatever, right? Okay, I think in this sort of content, Gian is not an S. I think he's an A. He's not bad, but it's just not what his kit is designed for. Why he's better in AoE? He's not better in AoE than in single target. He doesn't do more damage in AoE than he does in single target. It's just that his AoE is good, so he can do most of his damage in AoE. But his best support, by a pretty significant amount, is Mortify, and Mortify is pretty single target. Against elites, you're also like, his grouping doesn't matter that much, and most characters have enough AoE for that in elite fights, like, they're fine. And so it becomes literally just about how much damage he can do. And while he has good damage, the reality is that it's not as unconditional as people think. I don't know. Realistically, I don't know if I would have anyone in S. Like, any of the carries in S. Like, pre-nerf Kalcharo probably would have been there, but I guess post-nerf he isn't. And if I don't have any carry in S, then I might as well just bump every carry up a tier and have him at the bottom of S. Like, sure, I guess. What about Yinlin? She's not out yet, so I'm not counting her. I don't know. I mean, sure, we can put him here for now. I don't mind that much. Encore, I think, is in A for this sort of content. I think Kalcharo, I'm not sure if he's high A or low S. Probably low S, honestly. Feels amazing for that. For this content, yeah. That was my experience with him in CBT2 for sure. Genshin, I think, is in B. A bit better for this than for holos, I think. But still not the content where she truly shines. Ling Yang. This is probably the one piece of content where he's not completely awful to play. So, low B maybe? Dungeon, I think in this sort of content is probably middle B. Maybe low A. Probably low A actually. Chicha, I would say probably high C unfortunately. Mortify. So the thing about Mortify is his damage is mostly single target, but one of the best parts about his kit is that because his forte bar gives him an additional skill, and with a decent amount of field time, not like a large, but like an okay-ish, you can get 2 forte skills. He actually gets really good energy gen, both on him and on the rest of your team, which is a pretty big deal for Jian. Right? Like, Jian's biggest bottleneck is his energy generation, and Mortify's design is really, really well synergized with Jian, right? And so I think because of that, even though he's like a mostly single target unit, he still just goes in low A. Wouldn't Mortify also be good with Dungeon since she uses her heavy attack a lot? She does? Yeah, it's once per combo. That's not a lot. It's not a huge portion of her damage. It's a good portion of her damage, but not a huge one. I mean, you can still play Mortify with Dungeon just because Mortify is broken. But it's not really because of a specific synergy with her heavy attacks. Baija, or I think she might be low A. The reality is that the healing set and the turtle are too broken. So any character that can use them and that does literally anything else that's somewhat useful is just gonna be pretty good. Sanhua, still in A. She's just a pretty damn good unit. If Sanhua had a better outro skill, she'd be so good. Like on our, if Sanhua had an outro skill that dealt damage, or that buffed like skills or burst instead of normal attack, like, man. Verdun apparently shows Dungeon's primary source of damage is heavy attacks at 38% of her. Yeah, 38% is not a lot. Like, it is. Just because it's the bigger portion of the pie chart doesn't mean it's most of her damage. 38% is still less than 40%. Sanhua is really good for Havoc Rover, though. No, she's not! Sanhua is fine for Havoc Rover. She's not really good for Havoc Rover. Havoc Rover's normal attacks are honestly not great. They're fine, but they're not great. You would much rather be able to play them in a team where you spend less field time on them and play them with a unit that does more than try to fucking hyper buff their normal attacks. It's like, Havoc Rover is like Hazo if Hazo had good numbers, right? The normal attacks are just not the good part of the kit. Now, Sanhua is good with Havoc MC just because Havoc MC doesn't have the greatest teammates right now. Not because... And because she generates a good amount of energy, right? Not because of the normal attack shit. The normal attack shit is a nice little upside. Yang Yang! Yeah, this unit is just not good, man. Spectral Rover for elites. C, maybe? And then Havoc MC. Spectral Rover has good AoE. That's just not true, is it? That's just not true. And finally, Havoc MC. I'd say this is probably Havoc MC's weakest content. In Holos, they're actually pretty good because they have decent frames. Well, they have good frames for parries, and they actually just do a lot of damage. In AoE, they're good because, like in AoE against mobbing, they're good because they can front load so much like AoE damage in a huge AoE. But against elites, the portion of their damage that isn't that big AoE, which is their skill, it is really small AoE. And so it's very likely to only hit one of the elites. And elites are tankier, and so you're kind of not really going to be able to kill them just from your ult and Dreamless like you can with mobbing. And so I think this is definitely their weakest content, but I think they're still A. Alright, and finally, for mobbing content. So stuff like... Might as well go to Tower and show. Put everyone in S except Pouchy. That's not how it works, man. Like, this is a good example of mobbing content, right? But if these enemies are fucking level 100, they're still gonna be fucking tanky, okay? We got the basics out of the way. Now we can actually get into the interesting stuff. In mobbing, I think Jensen is actually yes. Her ult is just really good for mobbing. And her outro giving ult damage is more relevant for mobbing, where it can get you to breakpoints where someone's ult will be able to one-shot. Speaking of which, Havoc MC is also S. I progress tower further than you, and I can say the trash mobs are literally nothing. We're in 1.0. You think? Like I know someone who's already able to clear the whole fucking tower, like the hazard zone. Not full stars yet, but already full clear. You remember Abyss 1.0 in Genshin? Like, 5 patches from now, we'll just have 7 waves of trash mobs. And like, yeah, they're pretty squishy, but when there's a lot of waves, it still matters how good you are at dealing with them. Ones that pose a challenge are bosses, so I reckon single target is higher value. I mean, I agree. But that doesn't mean that it's not useful to know who's good in AoE. Marina probably goes in S as well. Colcharo, B. Anchor, B. Dungeon, B. Chisha, and I am sorry to say this, but B. Ling Yang, D. He's probably the worst carry in the game for AoE. Mortify, S, just by virtue of being the best G on support. Baizha, A. Sanhua, probably A as well, ahead of Baizha. Yang Yang, C. So the thing about Yang Yang is, like, her kit should be good in AoE, right? It's just not. Her grouping doesn't actually group enemies. It groups enemies for like 2 seconds and then it knocks them away. If you hit them at all while they're getting grouped, they'll get knocked away. She is so bad. Like Sucrose E. It's like Sucrose Burst if she didn't have her E. And then Spectro MC. Why is Dungeon so low? This is for mobbing content. What's up, Fob? Dungeon was higher in the both elites and the holos tier lists that we did earlier. I think Spectro MC actually makes it into low A. Dungeon is the best character in the game in every possible facet. No, that's Havoc MC, I'm sorry. I am sorry. That's Havoc MC. Bye-bye.